Good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Friday, January 19th, and I'm having technical difficulties. My cords are all entwined. I'm not wanting to stay in place. Ha! Alrighty, TGIF. We made it. For those of you who do the work week, coffee is required. Lovely. Alrighty. I hope you have a good night. You had a good night. Oh, there goes the light again. All right, never mind. Told you, technical difficulties. It is Friday announcements. No sprints tonight, but I am doing sprints tomorrow afternoon per usual. Those start at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and they'll go for 5 hours or so. You never know after that. Other than that, let's see. Last night I finished The Right Sort of Man by Alison Montclair. Gave it 5 stars. Really, really liked it. One of those books that you just, slap your forehead and say, "Why did I not read this sooner? I knew it was there. I resisted it." Uh, Good morning, Kim. How you doing? Are you having a good Friday? We are starting out below zero this morning in Billings, Montana. -8 it says, but we are supposed to get above zero and be in the 30s and 40s after today for a spell. So all the white stuff out there is going to melt. And yes, we're under a flood watch. Keeps things interesting, right? All right, let me see what tabs I have up here that I can close. That can close down. These are up. All righty. So normally on Fridays, we kind of do the danglers that are left for the new books that are being released into the wild. Uh, in January, on Fridays, I've been looking at the historical mystery options because I'm sponsoring a readathon called the Mid-Winter HistMyst readathon, where we're encouraging the reading of historical mysteries because they are my absolute favorite subgenre of mysteries. It's 46, but getting bad again this weekend. Yeah, you're probably getting our stuff. Where are you at, Kim? Heading your way from what we had, maybe. A lot of places east of us, east and south of us, are getting what we had. And we're moving it along very nicely, gladly. All right, let me get rid of this banner. So let us go over here. So I have a list on Amazon that I have made public if you ever want to look through this. This is by no means comprehensive. These are just ones that pretty much I have read or started to read or want to read. And it's called Bookeemonsters HistMyst if you want to look it up somehow on Amazon. Let's see, I think we were somewhere in here. I also made a list if people are interested in, these are just Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes adjacent series, if that would be something you wanted to dip your toes in that way too. I have to admit, I was not a big fan of Sherlock Holmes until 15, 20 years ago, probably 20 years ago now. And that was when I started to read Laurie R. King's The Beekeeper's Apprentice, that series, Mary Holmes series. And then, of course, the Sherlock BBC version and also Robert Downey Jr.'s version. So we can look at those as well. Oh, Georgia, way south there. About hour and a half southeast of Atlanta. Ah, that's right. You got, oh, cold, 46. That is cold for you guys. All righty, let's jump in. Sorry, I'm a little bamboozled this morning. I believe we looked at that. I don't know. Did we look at, I don't think we looked here. This is one of those, I have some of these books, I have just not jumped into it yet. This is the first book in this series is called The Seeker by C.G. McLean, S.G. McLean, set in 1654 during the UK when Cromwell was in power. They had overturned the monarchy for a little bit. London, 1654. Oliver Cromwell is at the height of his power and has declared himself Lord Protector. Captain Damien Seeker is his most trusted agent. No one knows where Seeker comes from, who his family is, or even his real name. All that is known for certain is that he is utterly loyal to Cromwell and that he has eyes everywhere. In the city, coffee houses are springing up, places where men may meet to plot and gossip. Now they are ringing with news of a murder. John Winter, hero of Cromwell's all-powerful army, is dead, and the lawyer Elias Ellingworth found standing over the bleeding body, clutching a knife. Yet despite the damning evidence, Seeker is not convinced of Ellingworth's guilt. He will stop at nothing to bring the killer to justice, and Seeker knows better than any man where to search. There are 5 books in this series. This next one, I have read a few in this series and fell away from it. I need to get back to it. This is by David Roberts. It's the Lord Edward Corinth and Verity Brown series set in the 1930s, so in between the wars in the UK. This first book is called Sweet Poison, first of 10. August 1935, the Duke of Mersham's exclusive party ends in tragedy as General Sir Alistair Craig, VC, collapses, victim of a poisoned glass of port, just as Lord Edward Corinth and Verity Brown join the soiree. The unlikely pair, the younger son of a duke and a journalist committed to the Communist Party, find common ground as they seek the truth and discover that everyone present that evening, including the Duke of Mersham himself, had motive for wanting Sir Alistair out of the picture. But more deaths will follow before Lord Edward and Verity can get to the bottom of this intriguing mystery. I find that period between the wars very interesting. We're jumping around in different time periods here. This is a series by Michael Jex. There's 32 books in this series. Don't be intimidated by that. This is a medieval setting. This is called The Last Templar. Paris, 1307. The Knights Templar have been destroyed by Pope Clement, having been persuaded by a jealous king that they are corrupt devil worshippers. There is one survivor, a knight who swears vengeance. Devon, 1316. A charred body is discovered in a burned-out cottage, and newly appointed bailiff Simon Puddock believes it to be accidental, until the new master of the local manor, Sir Baldwin Fernshill, deduces that they were dead before the fire began. With the assistance of the astute yet strangely reticent knight, Simon begins to piece together the events of the man's last days. Then word comes of another, far more sinister murder, for in this case the victim was undoubtedly burned alive. Are the two incidents connected, and will the killer strike again? This is one of those books or series where solving of the crime is definitely talking to different people and puzzling together what they have said. Yeah, Templars are, I love Templars in general. I have Maureen Ash's books on my shelf, and did I read it all? It's been a long time now. This one is a fun one. Now, I think there are two more books available in this one. This says one of five, but I'm not sure if they're out on Kindle. But these five can be enjoyed. This is by Patricia Wynne, set in the 1700s, early 1700s. This is the Blue Satan Mysteries. It is 1715, many decades before a police force in Britain, and less than a year after George of Hanover's controversial accession to the English throne. A conspiracy to restore the crown to the pretender, James Stuart, is about to erupt in rebellion. The Whigs are in power again and eager to take revenge on the Tories in the days when arguments were solved with swords. Falsely accused of murdering his own father, Gideon Fitzsimmons, Viscount St. Mars, must hide from the men who want to hang him while trying to unmask his father's killer. An outlaw, he must detect under cover of night to avoid being caught. Fortunately, he has one true-hearted friend, Hester Keene, waiting woman to the lady he hoped to make his wife. Mrs. Keene becomes his eyes and ears in the society he has lost. Together they solve the mystery and forge a bond that carry them through the challenges and adventures of their dangerous times. He becomes a highwayman who wears all blue, the Blue Satan. S.J. Paris, very good historical series. This is by S.J. Paris. This is the Giordano Bruno books, and actually Giordano Bruno was a real person. These accounts are fictionalized, but he was an actual person. His first book is called Heresy, set in the 1500s. Giordano Bruno was a monk, poet, scientist, and magician on the run from the Roman Inquisition on charges of heresy for his belief that the earth orbits the sun and that the universe is infinite. This alone could have got him burned at the stake, but he was also a student of occult philosophies and magic. Bruno's pursuit of this rare knowledge brings him to London, where he is unexpectedly recruited by Queen Elizabeth and is sent undercover to Oxford University on the pretext of royal visitation. Officially, Bruno is to take part in a debate on the Copernican theory of the universe. Unofficially, he is to find out whatever he can about a Catholic plot to overthrow the Queen. His mission is dramatically thrown off course by a series of grisly murders and a spirited and beautiful young woman. As Bruno begins to discover a pattern in these killings, he realizes that no one at Oxford is who he seems to be. Bruno must attempt to outwit a killer who appears obsessed with the boundary between truth and heresy. This next one, I have not read this series, but my mom has read all these series, and therefore I own all these books, and I will get to them eventually. This is by P.B. Ryan. This is the Nell Sweeney series. This book is called Still Life with Murder. Boston, 1868. The dawn of the Gilded Age, an era of burgeoning commerce and invention, of unimaginable new fortunes and lavish excess, for some. Born into dismal poverty, young Nell Sweeney scratches by on her wits and little else until fortune blesses her with a position as nursery governess to the fabulously wealthy Hewitts. But she soon learns that ugly secrets lurk beneath the surface of their gold-plated world. The Hewitts' eldest son, William, a former Union Army battle surgeon and the black sheep of the family, was reported to have died 3 years before in a notorious Confederate prison camp. Maybe it was Andersonville. But one snowy February afternoon, his parents learn that he is in fact still alive and in jail for having murdered a man while intoxicated on opium. Infuriated by his son's deception and convinced of his guilt, August Hewitt forbids his wife from coming to Will's aid, so she begs Nell to help exonerate him. Nell finds that she must delve into the kind of dark and treacherous underworld she thought she'd left far behind if she's to unearth the truth before the hangman's noose tightens around William Hewitt's throat. It's a very pretty cover, too. Another great series. I have just started. I've known about it, resisted it. This is the Maggie Hope series by Susan Elia McNeil. Starts with the book Mr. Churchill's Secretary. There are 11 books so far in this series. This is set during World War II, hence Churchill is involved here. London, 1940. Winston Churchill has just been sworn in. War rages across the Channel, and the threat of a blitz looms larger by the day. But none of this deters Maggie Hope. She graduated at the top of her college class and possesses all the skills of the finest minds in British intelligence. But her gender qualifies her only to be the newest typist at number 10 Downing Street, which is no slight there. Those women were amazing. If you read any nonfiction history books about these quote unquote secretaries for Winston Churchill, they were just intelligent, non-stop women. If you want to read any nonfiction books this year, read about them. They are fantastic. Her indefatigable spirit and remarkable gifts for code breaking, though, rival those of even the highest men in government, and Maggie finds that working for the Prime Minister affords her a level of clearance she could never have imagined, and opportunities she will not let pass. In troubled, deadly times, with air raid sirens sending multitudes underground, access to the war rooms also exposes Maggie to the machinations of a menacing faction determined to do whatever it takes to change the course of history. Ensnared in a web of spies, murder, and intrigue, Maggie must work quickly to balance her duty to king and country with her chances for survival. And when she unravels a mystery that points toward her own family's hidden secrets, she'll discover that her quick wits are all that stand between an assassin's murderous plan and Churchill himself. Churchill himself was an amazing man. I admire that man. A Fate Worse Than Death. I have also started this series, resisting it. I did read the first one. This is the Jack Haldane murder mysteries. There are 11 books in this series. This is by Dolores Gordon Smith, and it starts in the 1920s. So just after World War II. It's 1922, and Jack Haldane, young crime writer and former Royal Flying Corps pilot, is enjoying the local fete on a beautiful summer's day in rural Sussex. But then Jack's fellow officer, Jeremy Boscombe, is found dead in the fortune teller's tent, and later the same day, Boscombe's shady friend, Reggie Morton, is murdered in the village pub. Jack's search for the truth will lead him back to the mine of the Somme and an act of terrible betrayal. Another huge prolific name in historical mysteries is Paul Doherty, or P.C. Doherty. This series I'm going to highlight is the Brother Athelstan's mysteries. There are so far 22. This guy is, to me, legendary. He just writes so much, multiple series, all in different time periods. This one is medieval. It's in the first book here is the Nightingale Gallery. In 1376, the Black Prince dies of a terrible sickness, closely followed by his father, King Edward III, in 1377. The crown of England is left in the hands of a mere boy, and the great nobles gather like hungry wolves round the empty throne. Soon the prelates of the church and the powerful merchant princes of London are drawn in. One of these, Sir Thomas Springall, is foully murdered within a few days of the old king's death. Sir John Cranston, the coroner of London, is ordered to investigate. He is assisted by Brother Athelstan, a penitent Dominican monk. From the sinister slums of Whitefriars to the barbaric splendor of the English court, Cranston and Athelstan are drawn into a dark and terrifying web of intrigue. And if you are uh, also interested in medieval times, a fabulous place to start is Ellis Peters' Brother Cadfael books. There's 20 in this series. These are classics in historical mystery books. A Welsh Benedictine monk living at Shrewsbury Abbey in Western England, Brother Cadfael spends much of his time tending the herbs and vegetables in the garden. But now there's a more pressing matter. Cadfael is to serve as translator for a group of monks heading to the town of Gwytherin in Wales. The team's goal is to collect the holy remains of St. Winifred, which Prior Robert hopes will boost the abbey's reputation as well as his own. But when the monks arrive in Gwytherin, the town is divided over the request. When the leading opponent to disturbing the grave is found shot dead with a mysterious arrow, some believe St. Winifred herself delivered the deadly blow. Brother Cadfael knows an earthly hand did the deed, but his plan to root out a murderer may dig up more than he can handle. They have also made this, I believe it was the BBC, into a miniseries. We are running out of time. We're going to hit one more big one here. Uh, Sister Fidelma. This is a series by Peter Tremaine. There are 34 books in this series so far. This is set in Ireland, medieval Ireland, and the situation where the Catholic, not Catholic, but we'll call it Christian church at that time. It was Catholic. Um, did not have the Rome influence at that time. There were two parts to it, and on this side of the Catholic Church, men and women lived together, and um, this time period in Ireland was very equal rights with women. It's and truly this is a true time period in history, and it's a great series. The King of Northumbria has requested the services of a wise council to decide the people's religious future. This is when Rome was starting to pressure. Among the select priests, elders, and scholars from Ireland and Rome is Sister Fidelma of Kildare. Trained as an advocate of the courts, which women could do, she was expecting to rule on issues of law. Instead, she was plunged into unholy murder. Dead was the abbess I'm going to say that wrong. A leading Celtic speaker, her throat slashed. With the council in an uproar and civil war threatening, the desperate king has turned to the sharp-witted Sister Fidelma for help. With the aid of her dear friend, Brother Adolf, and her faith in the truth, she must act in haste before the killer strikes again. She is a strong female who does not suffer fools gladly. But that is all we have time for. The bell has struck again. I could go on and on and on and on and on. Hi, Annalise. Hello. I have a lot of these on my want to read list on Goodreads. Oh. And even now, I started to read these 20 years ago. I would love to reread all of these. They're fantastic. Annalise will rewatch and want a new for sprints. Oh, no sprints tonight for me. Tomorrow afternoon. Uh, yeah, isn't that pretty? I love finding these. So, thank you guys for watching, or if you're watching it later, thank you for watching it later. If you like what you see, please hit the like, hit subscribe if you haven't yet, and tell people about us. The more the merrier. We've got to spread the gospel of historical mysteries. Yeah, but you'll get to Saturday before we will, Annalise. All righty. Have a very good Friday. Stay safe, stay warm, read good books. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom. Thank you, Kim. You too. Have a good day. God bless.